In this video, we're going to focus on just some basic topics in math. This is for those of you who really want to boost your math skills. So we're going to talk about how to add, subtract, especially when there's negative numbers, how to multiply, do mental math in your head. We're going to go over the multiplication tables, the ones that you got to know. We're also going to talk about how to divide and how to convert fractions into decimals, how to add, subtract fractions, multiply, divide, how to convert them to mixed numbers. We're going to talk about how to do percentages in your head and how to simplify fractions like mentally. We're also going to go over like exponents and even exponential fractions, order of operations. We're going to talk about square roots, how to simplify radicals, cube roots. We're going to go into scientific notation, how to convert it into decimal or standard form and vice versa, how to multiply, divide two numbers in scientific notation, even how to take a square root of a scientific notation number. Now we're also going to talk about how to solve equations, both linear equations, equations with decimals, fractions, equations involving radicals, cube roots, and also how to factor and use the quadratic equation. And then after that, we're going to talk about how to graph linear and quadratic equations. And we'll go over some general parent functions and how to do some transformations. So just some of the common topics that you'll see in algebra, but the beginning part of this video focus mostly on arithmetic. And then for those of you who are looking to do well in algebra, the rest of the video might be of use to you. So let's begin. So let's start with some basic addition problems. If you want to add 5 plus 4, what is the answer? Now for those of you who know, you know it's 9. But let's say if you don't know the answer to that problem. What you could do is imagine a number line. Over here you have 0, on the left side -1, -2, -3, and so forth. On the right, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But now, let's start from 5. Let's say 0 is over here and this is 5. Starting from 5, you want to add 4. If you wish to add, you need to go to the right. If you want to subtract, you need to move to the left side. So since you want to add 4, we're going to go 4 units from the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to stop here. So this is going to be 6, 7, 8, 9. Therefore, 5 plus 4 is 9. Let's try some other examples. So what is 7 minus 3? 7 minus 3 is 4, but let's prove it with the number line. So let's say this is 0, and 7 is somewhere over here. If we start from 7 and we wish to subtract it by 3, we need to go 3 spaces to the left. So 1, 2, 3. So this is going to be 6, 5, 4. Therefore, 7 minus 3 is 4. So what about this one? 5 minus 8. What's the answer to that particular problem? Now 5 minus 8 is -3. So we're going to start at 5, and because we're subtracting, we're going to go 8 spaces to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2, -3. What's -4 plus 5? -4 plus 5 is +1. So if you start from -4, and since we're adding 5 to 4, we're going to go 5 units to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -3, -2, -1, 0, 1. Now you can also add it the other way too. negative 4 plus 5 is the same as 5 minus 4. You can reverse the numbers. This will also give you 1. So if you started at 5 and went 4 units to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, you would end up at the same location, which is 1. So try this one. Negative 8 plus 3. By the way, for these problems, feel free to pause the video, try it yourself, and see if you can get the answer. Negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5. So starting at negative 8, we're adding 3, so we're going to go 3 spaces to the right. 1, 2, 3. So negative 7, negative 6, negative 5. And there it is. Now what about negative 9 minus 4? What's the answer to that problem? So negative 9 minus 4 is negative 13. So if we start at negative 9, we're going to subtract 4 to it, so we need to go 4 units to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going to be negative 10, negative 11, negative 12, negative 13. Now what if there's like 3 negative signs, like negative 10 minus negative 4? Sometimes you might see this in parentheses, but it's the same as if it's written like this too. Now whenever you see 2 negative signs right next to each other with no number in between them, you can change that into a positive. So this is the same as negative 10 plus 4. A negative times a negative is a positive. A negative times a positive is a negative, and a positive times a positive is just a positive number. So what we have is negative 10 plus 4. So starting from negative 10, we're going to add 4 units or go 4 units to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 9, negative 8, negative 7, negative 6. Therefore, negative 10 plus 4 is equal to negative 6. So what about 8 minus negative 3? How would you do that one? So we can change the 2 negative signs into a plus. So this is 8 plus 3, which we know is 11. If we start from 8 and go 3 units to the right, we would end at 11. So now let's take a quiz. Try these problems. 8 plus 7, 5 plus 9, 6 plus 7, and 5 plus 12. So try these 4 problems first. You can use the number line technique, and then pause the video, take a minute to do that, and I'll just give you the answers. So 8 plus 7 is 15. So if you go, if you start from 8 and you go 7 units to the right, you should end at 15. 6 plus 7 is 13. 5 plus 9 is 14. And 5 plus 12 is 17. Try these. Let's say if you have 9 minus 4, and 12 minus 5, and 14 minus 6, and one more that's similar to this type of problem, 22 minus 13. So in these 4 problems, notice that the positive number is larger than a negative number. When that happens, usually your result is going to be positive. So 9 minus 4 is equal to positive 5. Using a number line, if you start at 9 and go 4 units to the left, since you're subtracting it by 4, this is going to be 8, 7, 6, 5. So 14 minus 6, if you don't see that correctly, it looks like this. 14 minus 6 is positive 8. And 12 minus 5, that's positive 7. And 22 minus 13 is positive 9. So you can use the number line to check your answers, or if you have a calculator, you can use that too. But it's always good to do mental math. Try these four problems. 7 minus 9, 4 minus 12, 5 minus 16, and 8 minus 19. So notice that the negative number is larger this time. So therefore the result should be negative. 7 minus 9 is negative 2. So if you start from 7, and if you travel 9 units to the left, this will be 6, 5, or let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this will be 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2. So we get that answer. 5 minus negative 16, you should get negative 11. 4 minus 12 is negative 8. And 8 minus 19 is negative 11 as well. So let's use the number line for one more example. Now, let's use it for 4 minus 12. But counting 12 spaces backwards, that might seem like a long task. You could do it though, but we can also write it as negative 12 plus 4. That's the same as 4 minus 12. So if we start at negative 12, and if we go 4 units to the right, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is negative 11, negative 10, negative 9, negative 8. But if you want to do it the long way, you could start with 4 and go 12 spaces backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And as you can see, you're going to reach negative 8. Try these examples. Negative 6 plus 9, negative 5 plus 14, negative 8 plus 12, and negative 9 plus 17. So we have a positive and a negative number. Notice that the positive number is larger. So when we add these two values, we should get a positive value at the end. So negative 6 plus 9 is positive 3. Using the number line, if we start with negative 6, and if we go 9 spaces to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This will be negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Negative 8 plus 12, that's going to equal positive 4. Negative 5 plus 14, that's 9. And negative 9 plus 17 will give you 8. So here's the next round of questions. Negative 5 plus 2, negative 12 plus 5, negative 16 plus 7, and negative 14 minus 5. So try those. So starting with negative 5, we're going to add 2 units. So 1, 2, we're going to go 2 units to the right. This will be negative 4 and negative 3. So negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3. So notice that the first number, the negative one, is larger. So therefore, the result will be negative. Negative 12 plus 5 is equal to negative 7. Negative 16 plus 7, you should get negative 9. And negative 14 minus 5 is negative 19. Try these. So let's say if we have two negative signs, negative 3 and minus 5. What do you think the answer will be to that particular problem? So negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8. So if we make the number line, starting at negative 3, we're going to subtract it by 5. So we need to go 5 units to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this will be negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, and negative 8. So when you have two negative numbers written in the way that we have it in this video, what you could do is just add 3 plus 5, which is 8, and then make it negative. So negative 8 minus 4 is the same as 8 plus 4 with a negative on the outside. So what you could do is say 8 plus 4 is 12 and add the negative sign. To confirm it, we're going to start at negative 8, which is over here, and we're going to subtract it by 4, or go 4 units to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is negative 9, negative 10, negative 11, negative 12. So negative 7 minus 6 is the same as 7 plus 6 with a negative on the outside. 7 plus 6 is 13, so this is negative 13. And this is going to be negative, and then 9 plus 8. So 9 plus 8 is 17, so this is going to be negative 17. Try these. Negative 8 minus negative 3. Negative 9 minus negative 15. Negative 12 minus negative 4. And negative 14 minus negative 16. So whenever you see two negative signs like right next to each other, you can make that into a positive number. So this is the same as negative 8 plus 3. So using the number line, if we start at negative 8, we're going to add 3 units to the right. 1, 2, 3. So this is going to be negative 7, negative 6, and negative 5. So negative 9 minus negative 15 is the same as negative 9 plus 15. And negative 9 plus 15 is the same as 15 minus 9. So you're going to get positive 6. So you can reverse it if you want. So negative 12 minus negative 4 is the same, minus negative 4 is the same as plus 4. And negative 12 plus 4 is the same as 4 minus 12. And that should give you negative 8. Here we have negative 14 minus negative 16, so that's negative 14 plus 16. And negative 14 plus 16 is the same as 16 minus 14, which equals 2. So keep that in mind. You can always reverse the order. If you have negative 3 plus 8, you can switch it. The 8 is positive, the 3 is negative. So this is the same as positive 8 minus 3, which is just 8 minus 3. And that's equal to 5. So if you have like negative 10 plus 7, you can reverse it and say, you know what, that's 7 minus 10. And the negative number is larger, so when I subtract them I get 3, but since the sign of the larger one is negative, this is going to be negative. Here the sign of the larger is positive, so this is positive. So that covers some basic addition, but let's say if you want to add larger numbers. Let's say if you want to add 26 plus 74. What would you do without a calculator? Well, you can write it like this. 6 plus 4 is 10, so we're going to put the 0 here, but the 1 we're going to put it in the next column. And then we add 1 plus 2 plus 7. 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 7 is 10, so 26 plus 74 is therefore 100. Try this one. Add 35 and 62. So 35 plus 62. 5 plus 2 is 7. 3 plus 6 is 9. So this equals 97. Now what about 47 plus 65? So 47 plus 65. 5 plus 7 is 12. You got to carry over the 1. And then 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 6 is 11. So this gives you 112. Now what about subtraction? So let's say if we wish to subtract 87 minus 23. So let's write it like this. 87 minus 23. So 7 minus 3 is 4, and then 8 minus 2 is 6. So this is equal to 64. Not bad, right? So you can see it here. 8 minus 2, 6, and then the 7 minus 3 is 4, so you get 64. What about this one? 64 minus 39. So if we subtract 4 minus 9, we're going to get a negative number. So we don't want that. Actually, let me put some space between these two numbers. Now what you could do is borrow a 1 from the 6. So the 6 turns into a 5. And we're going to put the 1 here. So 14 minus 9 is 5. And then you could subtract 5 and 3. That gives you 2. So therefore, 64 minus 39 is 25. Let's try another one like that. So 76 minus 48. So 6 minus 8, that's going to give us a negative number. So let's take away or borrow a 1 from the 7. So that turns into a 6. So instead of having 6, we now have 16. So 16 minus 8 is 8. And 6 minus 4 is 2. So we get 28. Now what about 125 minus 69? What does that equal to? So let's borrow a 1 from 2. So now we have 15. 15 minus 9 is 6. And so this is now a 1. And so now what we have here is 11 minus 6 is 5. So therefore, 125 minus 69 is equal to 56. Try this one. 42 minus 68. Notice that 68 is a bigger number than 42. So therefore, the overall result is negative. Now you don't want to subtract it the way it's written. What you could do is if you're subtracting by a larger negative value, reverse it. 68 minus 42. So 8 minus 2, that's going to be 6. And 6 minus 4 is 2. Since you reversed it, add the negative sign. So therefore, 42 minus 68 is equal to negative 26. Let's try another example. 25 minus 74. So we're subtracting 25 by a larger negative number. So let's reverse it. So 4 minus 5, we can't do that. We need to borrow a 1. So the 7 will turn into a 6, and the 4 will become 14. So 14 minus 5 is 9, and 6 minus 2 is 4, so we get 49, but we're going to add a negative sign. So this is negative 49. So now let's go over multiplication. The first thing we're going to do is construct a simple multiplication table. So let's begin. Now, if you can construct the table yourself, it's going to help you to know your multiplication numbers, which I would highly recommend you do so as well, because you'll see a pattern. So for example, what's 5 times 4? Now some of you may know the answer, but if you're not sure what that is, it might help for you to get a calculator or construct a multiplication tables. And you want to know your multiplication numbers up to 12. It's going to help you with a lot of arithmetic calculations that we're going to do from here on. So don't skip this step. Now I may not go up to 12 in this particular example, but I want to give you an idea of how to construct a table. So what we're going to do is put numbers in the first row. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And here we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I guess we'll go up to 8 here. And maybe we can go up to 10. So 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. And then these numbers will increase by 1. Now 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. And these numbers will continue to increase by 2's. So notice the pattern. And so now for the 3's. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 7 is 21. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 9 is 27. 3 times 10 is 30. So notice we're just adding 3's. Now 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times 9 is 36. And 40. And 4 times 10 is 40. Now 5 and 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. And then these numbers will continue to increase by 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 8 is 40. And 5 times 10 is 50. So these numbers will continue to add by 6. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 7 is 42. And so forth. Seven times 1 is 7. 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 6 is 42. 7 times 8, 56. And now for the 8s. So this will keep increasing by 8. So let's say if you wish to multiply 6 times 8. So you would look for, you would go on the 6th row and stop once you reach the 8 column. So 6 times 8 is 48. So now let's say if you want to multiply 7 times 9. So here's 7, here's 9. So from the 7th row, go towards the 9th column, and you get 63. So therefore, 7 times 9 is 63. So let's say if we wish to multiply 4 times 6. So 4th row, 6th column, 4 times 6 is 24. So that's how you would use it. So feel free to take a moment and study the table, and even get to a point where you can construct the table yourself. Go up to 12. You want to know your multiplication numbers from 1 to 12. And then I'll quiz you on it. So let's say if you want to multiply 5 times 6. This can be written like this, or it can be written as 5 times 6. 5 times 6 is 30. Now, if you ever forget the table, what you could do is you can add 5 6 times, because that's what multiplication is. 5 times 6 means you're adding 5 6 times, and this will give you 30. So, for example, 4 times 3 is equal to 12. 4 times 3 means that you're adding 4 3 times, and that's equal to 12. It can also mean that you're adding 3 4 times, which will also be equivalent to 12. So 5 times 3, according to the table, is 15. But if you want to turn it into addition, 5 times 3 is 5 plus 5 plus 5 3 times, or it's adding 3 5 times, and that gives you, in both cases, 15. So what's 6 times 4? 6 times 4 is 24. If you add 6 4 times, you get 24. Okay, so at this point, make sure you have the multiplication table memorized, and then once you do, try this quiz. Eight times 7, just make sure you know it, is 56. 9 times 9 is 81. 7 times 6 is 42. 10 times 5 is 50. Okay, try these. Feel free to pause the video. So 12 times 12, 8 times 6, 4 times 9, and 3 times 12. So 12 times 12 is 144, 8 times 6 is 48, 4 times 9 is 36, and 3 times 12 is also 36. So 12 times 5, that is equal to 60. 7 times 9 is 63. 8 times 12 is 96. And 11 times 11 is 121. Okay, let's try a few more problems. So what's 12 times 9, 5 times 8, 5 times 11, 7 times 12, 12 times 11, and finally 9 times 8. So 12 times 9 is 108, 5 times 8 is 40, 5 times 11 is 55, 7 times 12 is 84, 12 times 11 is 132, 9 times 8 is 72. So make sure you're able to perform such multiplication. Now let's say if you have larger numbers. Let's say if you wish to multiply 15 times 8. How would you do that? Well, you could do it the old-fashioned way, 15 times 8. 8 times 5, we know it's 40. So we're going to put the 0 and move the 4 to the top. And then you're going to multiply 8 times 1. 8 times 1 is 8, but we need to add the 4. So this is equivalent to 120. Now, if you have a calculator with you, or you can go online and type in online calculator in Google, you can punch in this number in your calculator. 15 times 8 is 120. Now, another way you can do this is you can break up the 15 into 10 plus 5. 10 plus 5 is 15, and then multiply by 8. 8 times 10 is 80, and 5 times 8 is 40. Now, 8 plus 4 is 12. If you add the 0, you get 120. So 80 plus 40 is 120. Let's try another problem. So what's 20 times 14? How would you multiply those two numbers? So 4 times 0 is 0, and then 4 times 2 is 8. Now we're going to add a 0. So 1 times 0 is 0, and 1 times 2 is 2. So if we add these numbers, 0 plus 0 is 0, 0 and 8, that's 8, and drop down to 2, we get 280. So another way to multiply 20 by 14 is picture in your mind if you have 14 $20 bills. What's the value of 14 $20 bills? You know 5 $20 bills is 100. So another 5 $20 bills is another 100. And then you have 4 leftover $20 bills. 4 20s is 80. So if you add this up, you have $280. And as you can see, you have 14 20s on this side. 5 plus 5 plus 4 is 14. When it comes to money, it's very easy to do math. Everyone understands it. Now, another way you could have done this is you could separate the 14 into 10 plus 4. And 20 times 10 is 200. If you have 10 $20 bills, that's $200. And 20 times 4, well, 2 times 4 is 8, so if you add the 0, you get 80. And then, so this adds to 280. So let's say if you want to multiply 0.25 by 15. What would you get? So 5 times 5 is 25. So we're going to put the 5 here and add the 2 to the top. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 2, that's 12. Then we need to add a 0. 5 times 1 is 5. And 5 times 2, 1 times 2, that's 2. So if we add this, we get 5, 7, and 3. Now notice that we have 2 spaces after the decimal, so we need 2 spaces here after the decimal, so this is 3.75. So that's how you can multiply a number in the decimal. Another way to multiply 15 by 25 is, we know 0.25 is 25 cents. Imagine if you have 15 quarters. 15 quarters has a value of 3.75. For every 4 quarters you have, that's $1. So 4 times 25 cents, that's $1. Another 4 quarters is $1. And another set of 4 quarters is $1. So that's 12 quarters that we have so far. And then 15 quarters, we need 3 more. So the remaining 3 quarters is 75 cents. 75 cents. So you have $3.75 if you add these numbers. And if you add these, you have a total of 15 quarters. 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 3 is 15. So let's say if you want to multiply 8 times 17. So try this problem, but using both techniques. So let's do it this way, 17 times 8. So 8 times 7, that's 56. We're going to move the 5 here. And 8 times 1 is 8 plus 5, that's 13. So now let's use the other technique. Let's replace 17 with 10 plus 7. So 8 times 10 is 80, and 8 times 7 is 56. If you add these two numbers, 80 and 56, 6 plus 0 is 6, 8 plus 5 is 13, you get the same answer, 136. So there's many techniques that you can use to do mental math or even just math on paper without the use of a calculator. But now let's go over some other concepts. Let's say if you want to multiply 10 times 10. Now by instinct, you probably know that this is 100. But the way you should do this is, in your mind, you should multiply 1 times 1, which gives you 1, and then add the 2 zeros. So for an example, 10 times 100. Well, if we multiply 1 and 1, we get 1, and then add the 3 zeros that we see. We have 1, 2, 3 zeros, so 0, 0, 0. So that's 1,000. So 100 times 100. So 1 times 1 is 1, and then add the 4 zeros. So we get 10,000. So what do you think 100 times 10,000 is? Well, here we have a total of 6 zeros, so this is 1 million. Okay, so now let's try that. Let's try this principle to other harder problems. Let's say if you want to multiply 50 times 100. So basically, if you have 50 $100 bills, how much money do you have? So if we multiply the numbers on the outside, 5 and 1, 5 times 1 is 5, and then add the 3 zeros, this is 5,000. If you want to multiply 40 by 200, what you do first is multiply 4 times 2, and that's going to give you 8, and then add the 3 zeros. So therefore, 40 times 200 is 8,000. So what's 30 times 600? Well, 3 times 6 is 18, and if we add the 3 zeros, that's 18,000. So what about 70 times 800? 7 times 8 is 56. Add the 3 zeros, that's 56,000. Okay, so let's try a quiz. So try these problems. So these large calculations you can do without the use of a calculator. So 40 times 900, it seems like you're multiplying very, very huge numbers. But remember, all you need to do is multiply the numbers on the outside. 4 times 9 is 36, and then add the 3 zeros. So therefore, 40 times 900 is 36,000. So what's 500 times 700? So 5 times 7 is 35, and then we have 4 zeros to add. So this is going to be 350,000. 60 times 40. So 6 times 4 is 24. Add the zeros. This is 2,400. What's 8 times 5? 8 times 5 is 40. Then add the 6 remaining zeros. So this is equal to 40 million. Now what's 12,000 times 70,000? Now this is why you want to know your multiplication tables up to 12. 12 times 7 is 84. And we have 3 zeros on this side and 4 zeros here. So we have a total of 7 zeros. So let me make sure I put the comma in the right place. So I need a comma here and here. So this 12,000 times 70,000 is 840 million. So regardless of how big these numbers get, as long as you follow the basic principles, you can pretty much do math up to any limit. By the way, the video that you're currently watching is a 1-hour trailer version of a longer 4-hour paid video. So I'm going to post a link here in case if you want to watch the remaining 3 hours of this video, if you find it useful, and you can check that out. If you have any questions, feel free to post it in the comment section below. So now let's go over division. Let's say if you wanted to divide 56 by 7. What is the answer? Now this can be written as 56 over 7 as a fraction. In both cases it represents division. Now division is the reverse of multiplication. So you need to ask yourself, 7 times what number is equal to 56? Again, you need to know your multiplication tables. 7 times 8 is 56. Therefore, 56 divided by 7 is 8. So let's try another example. What is 24 divided by 6? So 6 times what number is equal to 24? So hopefully you have your multiplication tables memorized at this point. But take a minute, see if you can figure this out without the use of a calculator. You can check your answer with the calculator though. 24 divided by 6 is 4 because 6 times 4 is 24. Okay, let's try one more example. So what is 42 divided by 6? Or 6 times what number is 42? Since 6 times 7 is 42, 42 divided by 6 is 7. So now it's your turn. Feel free to try the following problems. So 20 divided by 4, 36 divided by 6, 72 divided by 8, and 144 divided by 12. So go ahead, take a minute and see if you can find the answers to those questions. So 20 divided by 4 is 5 because 4 times 5 is 20. Since 6 times 6 is 36, 36 divided by 6 is 6. Now 8 times 9 is 72, so 72 divided by 8 is 9. And since 12 times 12 is 144, 144 divided by 12 is 12. Try these. 30 divided by 5, 18 divided by 2, 48 divided by 6, and 54 divided by 9. So 30 divided by 5 is 6. 18 divided by 2 is 9, since 9 times 2 is 18. And 48 divided by 6 is 8. And 9 times 6 is 54, so 54 divided by 9 is 6. Try this example. 400 divided by 5. Now you might think this is outside of your range, but you can view it this way. 400 is 40 times 10 divided by 5. Now what you could do is divide 10 by 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2, because 5 times 2 is 10, and we still have the 40. So 40 times 2 is 80. Another way you could have seen this is you could focus on the 40 right here. 40 divided by 5 is 8, and then simply add the 0. You can get 80. So try this one. 3,500 divided by 7. So let's divide 35 by 7 first. 35 divided by 7 is 5, and then add the two zeros. So 3,500 divided by 7 is 500. So what about this one? What's 18,000 divided by 30? 18 divided by 3 is 6. Now we can cancel a 0. So we have two zeros left over. We're going to carry it over. So 18,000 divided by 30 is 600. Now what about 4,500 divided by 900? Well, we can cancel the zeros. So this is basically 45 divided by 9. And since 9 times 5 is 45, then 45 over 9 is 5. So 4,500 over 900, that's just 5. Now what about 600,000 divided by 1,200? So let's cancel the zeros. We can cancel two zeros. And if we divide 60 by 12, we get 5, since 5 times 12 is 60. Now there's two zeros remaining that we didn't account for, so we're going to add those two zeros here. So therefore, 600,000 divided by 1,200 is 500. Now let's try this example. 63,000 divided by 70. Well, we can cancel a 0. 63 divided by 7 is 9. And we're going to add these two zeros. So therefore, 63,000 over 70 is 900. So now let's say if you have a number that doesn't go into it. Let's say like 39 over 6. 6 and 39, that's not in the multiplication tables. So what can you do in a situation like this? Since 39 is not a multiple of 6, you can use long division to get the answer. So basically, we're converting a fraction into a decimal. The 39 is going to go inside the long division symbol. Now you have to ask yourself, how many times does 6 go into 39? Well, if you write out all the multiples of 6, it's 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36. 42 is too much, so we're going to get rid of that. You need to add 6 times to get to 36, since 6 times 6 is 36. And then you need to subtract these numbers. 39 minus 36 is 3. Now 6 doesn't go into 3, so we're going to add a 0. So we're going to add a decimal point, and we're going to treat this as if it's 30. So 6 goes into 30 5 times, because we had to add 6 5 times to get to 30. So this shouldn't have been a 0 here. I should have just put just a decimal point. But we're still going to bring down the 0. So 6 times 5 is 30, and we have a remainder of 0. So the answer, therefore, is 6.5. So that's a simple way in which you can convert a fraction into a decimal. But let's try another example. Let's try 42 divided by 8. So how many times does 8 go into 42? So let's write out the multiples of 8. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. 48 is too much. So if we add 8 5 times, you get to 40. 8 times 5 is 40. And we need to subtract. So 42 minus 40 is 2. And we're going to add a decimal point, bring down to 0. So how many times does 8 go into 20? 8 goes into 20 at least 2 times. 3 times would be 24, so that's too much. So 8 times 2 is 16, and the difference of that will give us 4. And we need to add another 0. So how many times does 8 go into 40? As you can see, it's 5 times. So we got to add 8 5 times to get to 40. So we're going to put a 5 here. And 8 times 5 is 40, so the remainder is 0. Once you get a remainder of 0, that's it. You're done. So the answer that you're looking for is right here. So 42 divided by 8 is therefore equal to 5.25. Let's try another example. Well, actually, you can pause the video and try this one. So let's say if you want to find out what 22 divided by 4 is. So take a minute and try it yourself. So how many times does 4 go into 22? So if we write out the multiples of 4, it's 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. 24 is too much. So 4 goes into 22 at least 5 times. So 4 times 5 is 20, and the difference is 2. We're going to add a decimal point, and then bring down to 0. Now, 4 goes into 20 5 times, so we get another 5. And when we subtract these numbers, the remainder is 0. So this is equal to 5.5. Alright, so let's try, let's see. $28 divided by 3. Now, 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 9 is close, is 27. 3 times 10 is 30. That's too much. So 3 goes into 28 7 times. So now we have to subtract. 28 minus 27 is 1. We're going to add a decimal point and bring down to 0. 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. And the difference is 1. So you bring down another 0, you get 10. Notice that this process will repeat. 3 times 3 is another 9. We're going to get 1, and therefore it's like 9.33333 repeating. So what you could write is just 9.3 with a line on top, which means 9.3 repeating. You can round it to 9.33 if you want. It's up to you. So now let's try 47 divided by 5. So how many times does 5 go into 47? We know 5 times 9 is 45. 5 times 10 is too much, that'll be 50. And 47 divided by 45 is 2. So we need to add a decimal point since we don't have a remainder of 0. And we got to add one here as well. Now 5 goes into 24 times. So we therefore get 9.4. And for the sake of practice, let's try one more example. 426 divided by 12. So how many times does 12 go into 42? If we write out the multiples of 12, it's 12, 24, 36. 48 is too much, so 12 goes into 42 at least 3 times. 12 times 3 is 36. So 42 minus 36 is 6. Bring down the other 6. So how many times does 12 go into 66? Well, let's keep adding multiples of 12. 48 plus 12 is 60. 60 plus 12 is 72. That's too much. So we need 5 12s to get up to 60. So 12 times 5 is 60. So that gives us a remainder of 6. So now we need to add a decimal point. We're going to bring down a 0. And we know another 5 will give us 60. 12 times 5 is 60. And this time the remainder is 0. So therefore, 426 divided by 12 is equal to this number, which is 35.5. So now let's say if the numerator is smaller than the denominator. So let's say if you have a fraction like 1 over 4. How do you convert that into a decimal? So the 4 is on the outside and the 1 is on the inside. Well, 4 doesn't go into 1, so let's add a decimal point. And we're going to add 1 here. So now let's treat the 1 as if it's a 10. 4 goes into 10 2 times. So there's really a decimal here, but you can view it as 10 minus 8. 10 minus 8 is 2. We're going to add a 0. 4 goes into 20 5 times. And the remainder is 0. So 1 over 4 is equal to 0.25. What about 1 over 3? This is one that's going to repeat. So let's add a decimal point. So 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. So 10 minus 9 is 1. Add another 0. 3 goes into 10 3 times. So that's going to be 9. And this is just going to keep repeating. So 1 over 3 is about 0.33. Repeating. Now there are some common fractions that you simply want to commit to memory. You just want to know them. It can help you if you need to do a quick calculation, especially in your head. 1/2 is 0.5. 2 over 2. Whenever the numerator, which is the top part of the fraction, and the denominator, which is the bottom part of the fraction, whenever they have the same value, the value of the entire fraction as a whole, it's equal to 1. Now here's some other numbers you want to know. 1 over 3 is about 0.33. 2 over 3 is like 0.666 repeating, which is really, you can round into 0.67. And 3 over 3 is a whole, so that's equal to 1. 1/4 is a quarter, that's 0.25, which is the same as 25%. 2/4 is 0.5, which is about 50%. 3/4 is 0.75. As a percent, that's 75%. And 4 over 4, that's a whole, that's equal to 1, which is 100%. So 1/5, that's 0.2, and that's about 20%. 2 over 5 is 0.4. You simply just multiply 0.2 times 2, and you get 0.4. And so that's like, so that's 40%. 3 over 5, that's 0.2 times 3, which is 0.6. And so that's 60%. And 4 over 5, that is equal to 0.8, which is 80%. And you know 5 over 5 is 1. Now the other fractions that you want to know is like 1 over 8. 1 over 8 is 0.125, which is equivalent to 12.5%. 2 over 8 is 0.25. 3 over 8 is 0.375, which is 37.5%. 4/8 is 0.5 or 50%, and 5 over 8 is 0.625, which is 62.5%. 6 over 8. If you divide the 6 and the 8 by 2, you get 3/4. You can reduce the fraction, which is equal to 0.75 or 75%. And 7/8 is 0.875, which is 87.5%. And then the last one you want to know is the tens. So like 1 over 10 is 0.1, which is 10%. 2 over 10, that's 0.2, which is 20%. 3 over 10 is 0.3, which is 30%. 4 over 10, 0.4, 5 over 10, 0.5, 9 over 10, 0.9. So you can see a pattern here, and that's like 90%. So now, why is this useful? Well, sometimes you may not want to do long division. You can divide fractions in your head. So like, for example, that problem that we had before, 39 over 6. You can break that down into two smaller fractions. You know 36 goes into 6, so you can write it as 36 over 6. Now 39 minus 36 is 3. So 39 over 6 is equal to 36 over 6 plus 3 over 6, because 36 plus 3 is 39. Now, by knowing your multiplication tables, you know 36 over 6 is equal to 6. Now, 3 over 6, you can reduce that. If you divide both numbers by 3, top and bottom, whatever you do to the top, you must do to the bottom of the fraction. So if we divide the top fraction by 3, 3 divided by 3 is 1, 6 divided by 3 is 2. 3 over 6 is equivalent to 1/2, and we know 1/2 as a fraction is 0.5. So 6 plus 0.5 is therefore 6.5. And that's what we got for long division when we divided 39 by 6. The other example that we had was 42 over 8. Now the highest multiple of 8 just under 42 is 40. So you want to separate this fraction, one of which will be a multiple of 8, and the other is the remainder. 42 minus 40 is 2, so 2 is the remainder. Now 8 goes into 40 5 times, or 40 divided by 8 is 5. Now 2 over 8, we know that to be the same as 1/4. If you divide the top and the bottom by 2, you can reduce the fraction to 1/4. And 1/4 as a decimal, we know it's 0.25. So therefore we add 5 plus 0.25, which is equivalent to 5.25. And so 42 over 8 is 5.25. So with this method, go ahead and practice a few problems. Try 9 over 2 and 7 over 3. Convert it into a decimal. And you can also convert it to a percentage as well. 9 over 2, we can break it into 8 over 2 plus 1 over 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 1 over 2 is 0.5, so this is equal to 4.5. By the way, as a percentage, 1 is 100%. If you want to convert a decimal into a percentage, multiply by 100. So 4.5 is 450%. A quick method is you can move the decimal point 2 units to the right, so you get 450. Now what about 7 over 3? What is that as a decimal? 7 over 3, we can break that into 6 over 3 and 1 over 3. Now we know 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 1/3 is about 0.33, so we get 2.33. As a percentage, that's 233%. So now let's try 5 over 4. And you can also try 8 over 5. So pause the video and see if you can get the answer on paper. So 5 over 4, we can rewrite that as 4 divided by 4 plus 1 over 4. Now 4 divided by 4, that's just 1, and 1 over 4 is 0.25, so this is equal to 1.25, or 125%. 8 over 5, that's 5 over 5 plus 3 over 5. So 5 over 5 is 1, 3 over 5 is 0.6. Now if you remember 1 over 5, that's 0.2, and then you multiply 0.2 by 3, you get 0.6. So this is equal to 1.6 or 160%. Okay, let's not worry about the percentage anymore. Let's just convert the rest into decimals. So try these two, 15 over 2 and 19 over 3. So we can make this 14 over 2 plus 1 over 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 1/2 is 0.5. So this is equal to 7.5. Now, 3 goes into 19 6 times. 3 times 6 is 18. So we can write this as 18 over 3 and 1/3. 18 divided by 3 is 6. 1/3 is 0.33. So as a decimal, this is 6.33. So try these two, 11 over 4 and 24 over 5. 11 over 4 is 8 over 4, and 11 minus 8 is 3, that's the remainder. So 8 over 4 is 2, 3/4 is 0.75, so therefore 11 divided by 4 is 2.75. So 24 over 5, that's 20 over 5 plus 4 over 5. So if you think of the multiples of 5, that's 5, 10, 15, 20. 25 is too much. It exceeds 24. So we need to stop at 20. That's why we choose this number. And then to get this number, simply subtract 24 minus 20. It gives you the remainder 4. So 20 divided by 5 is 4. And 4 over 5 is 0.8. So that therefore 24 over 5 is 4.8. Try this one, 23 over 8. So multiples of 8 are 8, 16, 24. 24 is too high, so we'll stop at 16. 23 minus 16 is 7. So 16 divided by 8 is 2, and 7/8 is about, as a decimal, 0.875. So this is 2.875. By the way, if you get like 9 as a fraction, 1 over 9 is about 0.1111 repeating. So 2 over 9 is about 0.22 repeating. 3 over 9 is 0.33 repeating. 4 over 9 is 0.44 repeating. 5 over 9, 0.55 repeating, and so forth. So 6 over 9 is 0.66 repeating. 8 over 9 is like 0.88 repeating. So let's say if you have 15 over 99, that's going to be 0.15 repeating. So it's like 0.15, 15, 15. It keeps on going forever. So 27 over 99, it's going to be 0.27, 27, 27 repeating. So you can write it as just 0.27. So 46 over 99 and 73 over 99. This will be 0.46 repeating, 0.73 repeating. Now let's say if you have like 246 over 999, this would be 0.246 repeating. And if you have like 375 over 999, it's 0.375 repeating. Now some of these, you may be able to reduce this fraction, but if you quickly want to get the decimal value, this is what it is. So just in case if it's based on 9. Now what about this one? What's 76 divided by 100? Now remember the last, actually before we do that, let's do this one. 76 divided by 10. Now when we said 5 over 10, we said that was 0.5. 3 over 10 was 0.3. So what do you think 76 over 10 is equal to? 76 over 10 is equal to 7.6. You see, what you need to do is move the decimal 1 unit to the left. So it's right now, it's right here. You move it to the left, it becomes 7.6. So notice the pattern. So 76 over 10 is 7.6. 76 over 100, you move the decimal 2 units to the left. That's going to be 0.76. 76 over 1,000, 0.076. 76 over 10,000, it's going to be 0.0076. So with that in mind, divide these numbers by Here, go ahead and simplify these fractions. Convert them into a decimal. Let's say if you have 54 divided by 10, 23 divided by 100, 8 over 10, 4.6 over 10. Try those. So 54 divided by 10, that's 5.4. 23 divided by 100 is 0.23. So you move the decimal place 2 units to the left. Here, just 1 unit. 8 divided by 10, that's 0.8. 4.6 divided by 10 is 0.46. So try these. 0.43 divided by 10, 7.1 divided by 10, 84 divided by 100, and 0.25 divided by 100. So if you divide it by 10, move the decimal point 1 unit to the left. So this is going to be 0.043. This is 0.071. Actually, no, that's too far. That's 0.71. This is going to be 0.84. And for this one, I'm going to move it 2 units to the left. So it's going to be 0.0025. So try these. 36 divided by 1,000. 475 divided by 100. 3,856 divided by 10. And 4.92 divided by 1,000. So 36 divided by 1,000. Let's move the decimal point 3 units to the left. 1, 2, 3. So it's 0.036. 475 divided by 100. Move it 2 units to the left. So this is 4.75. Here, this move it 1 unit to the left. So it's going to be 385.6. And for this one, move it 3 units to the left. 1, 2, 3. So we got to fit in 2 zeros here. The decimal point is now here. So it's going to be 0.00492. So that's how you can divide numbers if it's 10, 100, or 1,000.